Access, the award-winning Fleet Advantage podcast, a show where we bring you expert insights and the latest trends shaping fleet management and transportation. I am your host, Tracy Derival, and today we're diving into a topic that has officially snapped the industry back into planning mode: the EPA 2027 NOx regulations and the return of the truck pre-buy. For a while, it felt like the urgency had cooled. Regulations were shifting, timelines were unclear, and many companies thought they had more time. But now we have clarity. The EPA is holding firm on its 2027 NOx rule. 35 milligram standard is staying in place, and OEMs are preparing for significant technology and cost changes. Build slots for 2026 are already tightening. More pricing increases are coming in addition to tariffs, and fleets that wait risk being pushed into a much higher cost environment. So the big question is no longer if companies should act, but how quickly. To help us break this all down, I'm joined once again by Brian Antelis, who is the Senior VP of Fleet Operations here at Fleet Advantage, who has been closely tracking how these regulations are impacting procurement timelines, pricing, and fleet strategy. This is a conversation fleets cannot afford to ignore, so let's get started. Hi, Brian. Welcome back to the podcast. As always, it's great to have you on, especially when the industry is facing changes this significant.
Oh, thanks for having me back.
Now, with the pre-buy conversation seeming to go quiet for a while, what changed and why do you think it's back with such urgency now?
Yeah, it was all driven by regulation and understanding what was coming in the future for us. So over the last 8 or 10 months, it's been a little unclear where the EPA 27 and CARB regulations were going to land. Over the last 60 days, we got some clarity from EPA that they are moving forward with the 2027 emissions reductions focused on NOx. And I think it gave everybody a good understanding of what was coming and what they really wanted to prepare for. So they're back in the mindset of let's think about pre-buy again.
Right. Now, from a timing perspective, what are fleets underestimating about the 2026 build slot and OEM pricing once 2027 engines are introduced?
Sure. So we're going to have, I think we're going to see some pressure to be able to get availability in Q3 and Q4 and 26. The regulation starts January 1st, 2027. And if you think about what happens when that regulation goes into effect, I'm sure we'll talk about the cost of it later, but really what happens is there's a large technology change. And do fleets want to be the first ones to roll out that technology on a large scale? Or do you want to split your order between Q3 and Q4 26 and then be able to dip your toe into the new technology in 27? So I think there's going to be some pressure in Q3 and Q4 to be able to get the production availability that most fleets will probably decide they end up wanting.
Right. Now, can you walk us through the financial impact that fleets should expect once the 2027 NOx standard takes effect?
Sure. So we'll start with what happens in January 1st, 2027. So we're going to see a technology change in the trucks in really two areas: the hardware, but also the software. But those changes are going to drive an increased cost of the truck from between $12 to $15,000, depending on OEM. So, when you're thinking about it, yes, you're getting the new technology that people are a little bit concerned about, and there's a higher cost. So it's making them think, hey, what are my options around not having to pay that higher cost in my entire fleet? And what options do I have?
Now, we are already seeing private fleets are starting to move first. Why do you think they're acting now, and what risks do fleets take by waiting until later?
So I think the four higher fleets are probably going to be a little slower to adopt or to move into the pre-buy space. Their business is still challenged. The for hire market is struggling right now. On the private fleet side, we have fleets that have controlled their own freight. They know exactly how many trucks and how many loads they're going to be performing. So they're looking at it saying, what is the best path or avenue for me to navigate these challenges? And for me, I kind of look at it in three options. You can do a pre-buy in 26, where you're going to get the benefit of lower fuel economy and returning to first year maintenance on the economics of your current fleet. You'll avoid that high cap cost that'll start in 27, that $12 to $15,000 increase. Right? You can buy in 27, where you're going to go ahead and, accept the new technology and the higher cap cost, or you can defer to 28. So private fleets are looking at it and they say, listen, we know the capacity we're going to need. We're hauling our own product. So if there's an opportunity for me to avoid that high cap cost, be metered in how much of the new technology I take so it doesn't affect the on-time delivery and all those important metrics that they're focused on, it makes a lot of sense for them to focus on the 26 Q3, Q4 pre-buy and then accept some trucks in 27, but do it in a way where even if there is some challenges with the technology, you can learn and grow with them. They're not going to cripple your fleet.
Right. So now, for an organization with a transportation fleet that is listening today and hasn't adjusted to their strategy just yet, what do you think are the most important actions that they should be taking right now?
So yeah, every time me and you talk, we always end up coming back to data and modeling out different scenarios. So I don't think this is any different. We need to do the work now to understand the economics of your current fleet. Because like I said, you're going to have a couple of variables in play. You're going to have your fuel economy increase by getting a new truck, whether you get it in 26 or 27. You're going to have reduction in maintenance costs, right? And you're also going to have the reduction in the increase in cap costs that we're going to see in 27. So when you think about modeling that out, I laid out the three scenarios: pre-buy in 26, stay with your consistent acquisition plan in 27, or push out to 28. Each of those are going to have factors that are going to affect your P&L and how you're able to deliver to your customer. So modeling out those three options, understanding when you want to take advantage of the lower fuel economy and the lower maintenance costs, and then layering those additional cap costs. We've done this for a lot of our customers here over the past 6 months, and it's a really compelling story to be able to take advantage of the lower miles per gallon, take advantage of returning to first year maintenance, and then also avoiding the cap cost. Each company is a little bit different. What's the book value of their existing fleet? What are their current economics? How many miles are they running? But we're really advising that companies go through the process of evaluating the cost of your current fleet and then modeling it out towards your options going.
So the name of the game is to act now, right?
Yeah, you got to model it out, right? You want to
Yeah,
make sure that you understand your existing fleet, what it looks like, what your three options are, and to be able to execute that puts you in the best position to be successful.
right. And with that, Brian, as always, I wanted to say thank you for coming on today's show and just being able to break down a complex and fast moving issue in a way that fleets and all of us can actually understand. So thank you again.
No, thanks for having me.
Today's takeaway is simple. The window is narrowing. The EPA 2027 regulations are no longer theoretical. The OEMs are preparing, and fleets that delay risk higher costs, limited availability, and less flexibility. The organizations that are acting now are the ones that are protecting their budgets and securing their future strategies. If you found value in today's episode, please share, like, and leave a review. You can listen to us on Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Apple Podcasts. You can also watch this episode on our social media platforms such as YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, and X. Until next time, let's continue to drive solutions together.